Live from KMOV, News 4 is covering breaking news.
Today my heart aches for the men and women of the Baldwin Police Department and for the entire Baldwin community, the entire region, and the entire law enforcement family.
A Baldwin police officer is ambushed and shot. He's now fighting for his life.
Sky Zoom 4 was above the scene earlier today as that suspect was arrested following a pursuit. This is a story News 4 has been following for you all day. We have several crews gathering details because there were multiple scenes in this incident.
Take a look at this map to show you exactly where this unfolded. The Baldwin police officer was shot on New Baldwin Road just after 11 this morning. That suspect was later captured about 5 miles away near 141 and Burgundy Lane.
Tonight we have live team coverage of the breaking news. Our Lauren Posen is at the hospital where the officer is fighting for his life. Russell Kinsall and Chris Negus are both in West St. Louis County.
But first, within the last hour, we learned much more about the suspect and his long criminal past. Courtney Bryant is in Clayton with those details. Courtney?
Steve, we've learned the suspect is 32-year-old Antonio Taylor. He has been charged with 3 felony counts, including assault on a law enforcement officer, armed criminal action, and unlawful possession of a firearm. He is in custody right now, set to be arraigned Monday morning. Prosecutors wouldn't speak on a motive. They say it's still unclear, but they are using the terminology that this was an ambush-style attack. St. Louis County Prosecutor Bob McCulloch addressed us less than an hour ago. Now, these charges will add to Taylor's long criminal history that spans several states. He was most recently on probation for weapons violations in the city of St. Louis. He served 30 months in prison for felony possession, but he was picked up again for violating his probation and served additional time and was released last spring. I asked prosecutors whether Taylor should have been released when he was.
Just about everyone who goes to prison comes back from prison at some point. He was given 30 months in the federal system and served 30 months and then an additional 15 months. So for violating the provision. So at some point he was going to come back, and some people wake up and start to obey the law, and some just don't.
Right now, that officer is in critical but stable condition. I did ask prosecutors what would happen with charges in case the officer doesn't pull through. He said that a homicide charge would almost definitely be added to those 3 existing felony charges. Now, he is again expected to be arraigned Monday morning. At that time, bond will likely be set at $500,000 cash only. Now, for more details on how today's events unfolded, Chris Negus is live in Baldwin with more of those details. Chris.
Courtney, we're out here in front of the Baldwin Police Department. I showed you this at 5 o'clock. I want to show you again because it's a powerful image. You can see the flag back there. It was lowered today. In fact, the Baldwin Police Chief asked for that flag to be lowered because of what happened last night in Dallas. And now today, they're dealing with their own horrible situation. Let's talk about what transpired around 11 o'clock this morning. That's when a Baldwin officer pulled over a blue Ford Taurus. This was a routine stop, a speeding stop. Routine until the officer returned back to his vehicle after making contact with that suspect. The suspect, we are told, according to car camera video, ran up behind the officer, fired 3 times, and hit the officer at least once. It was a witness that called 911 because the officer could not. The suspect took off. He was arrested after a foot chase near 141 and Burgundy. So what we have tonight, a Baldwin police officer who, like so many officers throughout St. Louis and the nation for that matter, went to work today, but instead of going home, he's in a hospital fighting for his life. And maybe you've heard the St. Louis County Police Chief, John Belmar, say this already, but listen again as he describes the evidence and the reality of what unfolded on a suburban street in our community.
We feel like through the video cam in the car and the other evidence that we have with witnesses that this is a very strong case. I would tell you this also. Make no mistake, we believed during this investigation that Baldwin officer was ambushed, period. And that is an unfortunate state of events that we are dealing with right now.
The officer was rushed to Mercy Hospital. That's where that officer remains tonight. That's where we find News 4's Lauren Posen with the latest on his condition. Lauren.
That's right, Chris. The officer remains in critical but Stable condition. The St. Louis County Police Chief says what happened to this officer was an ambush. This all unfolded around 11 o'clock this afternoon. That's when the officer was shot. Police say he pulled over the suspect for speeding in the 300 block of New Baldwin Road. Police say after talking with the suspect, the officer was walking back to his car to process paperwork. That's when they say the suspect moved towards the officer and fired 3 gunshots, hitting him in the neck.
But we have an officer, a Baldwin police officer in the hospital this afternoon fighting for his life. And as the leader of this organization, I care immensely about the men and women that work here. And again, this is a very, very, very sad day for us.
Well, we're not identifying the name of the police officer at this hour. We can tell you he was a 9-year veteran and he worked for the Baldwin Police Department for 2 years. I'm going to hand things over now to my colleague, Russell Kinsall, who has more information about where the suspect was taken into custody. Russell?
Thanks, Lauren. Police pursued suspect Antonio Taylor off of Highway 141 here onto Burgundy Lane in this particular neighborhood, where his car came to rest when it hit a mailbox right back here behind me. You can see the tire tracks in the grass. That's when he jumped up out of the car and took off running between a couple of houses. Now, thanks to witnesses, officers knew that Taylor was driving a blue Taurus with Illinois temporary tags. When a large number of officers arrived here, right behind the suspect, they told neighbors to stay hidden in their homes for their own safety. Now, one homeowner told me that she heard a door open and thought the suspect came inside her home looking for a place to hide, and then after about 20 seconds left. Before long, officers spotted Taylor. Witnesses say he tried to get away, but police shot him with a taser, were able to get him into custody without anyone getting hurt. I spoke with 2 neighbors who said they saw it all.
Threw open the car door and took off running between my house and my neighbor's house, and the police officer was in full pursuit on foot.
What did you see in your yard after he took off?
Well, I saw him drop the gun and a piece of paper.
I saw a guy running in these bushes back here, and then I saw a cop, gun drawn. He was shaking, chasing the guy, and then the guy turned around and ran back the other way up the hill behind Liz's house over here. Up next to the decking, that's where they tackled him and tased him, and he was cussing and screaming.
This was a really frightening experience for people who live in this neighborhood, which has virtually no crime. But their bigger concern was for that police officer. Several asked me if I had any updates on his condition and told me they are praying that he recovers. Live in Manchester, Russell Kinsall, News 4.
The officer's shooting has gotten the attention of Missouri Governor Jay Nixon. He took to social media saying, quote, "I am deeply concerned by reports of an officer shot in Baldwin. This violence must stop," end quote. The governor also tweeted out that he is cutting his trip to Philadelphia short to return to the state.
Well, just hours before the shooting today, the Baldwin Police Department posted this video on Facebook, lowering their station flag to have staff in honor of the Dallas officer shootings that took place last night. Baldwin officers will also be wearing mourning bands on their badges for the next week.
The ambush in Dallas left 5 officers dead and 7 more wounded at a peaceful Black Lives Matter rally.
Here's what we know now. Authorities have finished an initial search of the suspect's home. Federal agents carried out several bags of evidence from Micah Johnson's home, including bomb-making materials, rifles, and ammunition.
The Army says he served in the Army Reserve and did one tour in Afghanistan. He was killed after hours of negotiations. Homeland Security believes Johnson was the only shooter, but other suspects are also in custody.
Law enforcement agencies around the country on alert tonight, but while there are no specific threats to St. Louis police, Chief Sam Dotson says he's taking extra precautions anyway. News 4's Lauren Traeger joining us now. And Lauren, what's being done to keep officers safe here in St. Louis?
Well, guys, in the city of St. Louis, until now, there were some calls, a traffic accident or a burglary, for example, where only one officer would respond. For now, that's changed. Police Chief Sam Dotson says no officer, city marshal, or park ranger will respond to any call alone. Instead, they'll work in pairs. He also ordered that every officer wear their ballistics vest, again, just as a precaution. Now, we sat down with him to ask him what he said to his officers in the wake of all this tragedy.
That at the end of the day, keep each other safe, go out and do your jobs professionally, and work to keep our community safe. Keep our department safe, keep our officers safe, keep our community safe. Those are the things that we have to do.
Now, Chief Dotson also sending a letter to the officers' homes offering their employee assistance program so even family members can help an officer who might be struggling right now at what is no doubt a very tough time for anyone in uniform. For News 4, I'm Lauren Traeger.
News of the Baldwin officer being shot is extending far beyond West St. Louis County. Coming up later in the newscast, how several other communities are coming together to reflect on the violence here and in Dallas and to show appreciation for law enforcement.
In the midst of several officer-involved shootings across the country, today Missouri lawmakers took action on a bill regarding police body cameras. Governor Nixon signed the measure which will limit public access to body camera footage during ongoing investigations. This was a variation of an already existing body camera bill in the state. Groups in favor say this may encourage more departments to buy body cameras and to promote transparency. More than a dozen children sent to the hospital following a bus crash in Midtown St. Louis. This happened this afternoon at Washington and Teresa, just 2 blocks from the campus of St. Louis University. An SUV collided with the bus, causing extensive damage to both vehicles. 15 children and 2 adults were taken to the hospital. However, all suffered only minor injuries.
Just days after a double homicide in front of a North City market, that business itself becomes the target. Just after 2 this morning, crews responded to Mama Minnie's Market for a fire. This is at West Page in Pendleton. The front of the market suffered extensive damage. Luckily, all 4 people living upstairs made it out safely. They report hearing a loud explosion before the fire started. The bomb and arson unit is now investigating. This is the same market where 2 men were shot and killed earlier this week. Police tell us they're still looking for the 2 men who pulled up outside the market with rifles and opened fire on 3 others. 2 were killed and a 3rd remains in critical condition. Investigators hope someone will recognize these men and call Crime Stoppers.
Dramatic sky zoom video from the Metro East to show you here as firefighters, look at this, climbed to the roof of a church to put out a fire. Happened this morning on North Firth Street in New Douglas, Illinois. That's in northeast Madison County. When crews arrived, they saw smoke coming from the church steeple. Luckily, they were able to put out the fire quickly and there was no damage to the inside of the building. Firefighters believe the fire may have been started by a lightning strike.
We have 5 days until the next debate in the Missouri Republican governor's race. KMOV is the host for the statewide debate next Wednesday on the campus of Lindenwood University. I'll be one of the panel members that night. We'll be airing a special pre-debate show starting at 6:30. The debate begins at 7 right here at KMOV. And a programming note, Big Brother will air at 8 immediately after the debate.
Now, a cold front moving through right now. Some welcome changes coming. I'll get you ready for the weekend coming up.
And next at 6, a heartwarming show of support for local law enforcement after a tragic week for police officers across the country. That story when we come back.
We want to give you another live look right now from the Baldwin Police Department. Their flags at half-staff and honor the officers killed in Dallas last night, and of course, for one of their own. Early this morning, a Baldwin police officer was shot after a traffic stop. That officer now in critical but stable condition. The suspect is in custody and has been charged. News 4 will bring you any update, including the officer's condition, as soon as we get it. In St. Charles County, the O'Fallon Police Department gathered at City Hall for a moment of silence today. Police gathering for a moment of reflection for the brothers and sisters in Dallas and also the officer shot in Baldwin.
The tragedy in Dallas still on the minds of many right here in our area. This morning, the Collinsville Police Department received a show of appreciation from the public. Several people dropping off gifts, including a box of donuts, and even some Collinsville High School engineering students dropping off a fruit basket. And perhaps the most heartfelt gesture of the morning, the mother of an officer dropped off a fruit basket with a note letting the officers know how much they are appreciated.
New at 6, a center helping young people in our community is now back open. Today, St. Louis County officials reopened the Center for Youth on the Rise in Spanish Lake. That center serves young people between the ages of 12 and 23, providing resources like GED class, tutoring, and help with their job searches.
It's not about staying here. It's about starting, having a place where there are caring adults that care about you. That our primary focus is we work for the youth here.
The center's reopening was made possible by a federal grant and the St. Louis County Children's Services Fund. The renovation included new computers and additional space for counseling and training.
The Forewarned Storm Team certified St. Louis's most accurate forecast for 4 years in a row. Now, here's Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Well, we are grateful slowly but surely that humidity is starting to ease up a bit.
Gone from gross earlier this afternoon to tolerable.
Yeah.
So it was gross.
describes it.
Yeah, I was looking at the humidity. It's really high. It's come down a little bit. Temperatures are still high, and they were high today as expected. We hit 93 degrees, which was the 4-degree guarantee high for Strong Tower Ranch. We added $50, $300, our donation now. Blue skies, like to see that from the Brown Realtors Eye on St. Louis. We have sunshine, but again, we have a little bit lower humidity. Temperatures down a little bit too. We just dropped 2 degrees in the past hour. We're at 90. It's still a hot day, but when you factor in the humidity, feels like 93. That's better than the 100 from earlier today. So humidity is on its way down. The effects of the cold front, or cool front might be a better term from it, because it's not going to be a huge relief, but we're going to get some relief. Those effects starting to filter in. There is that front, by the way, and there's the storms. It has fired up to the south. Extreme southern Reynolds County still has a few showers, but any strong storms have moved off to the east and will stay down there to the south. So this front and any kind of rain to the south pushes farther south. The rain fizzles out. Here's 10 o'clock, dry across the area, so no storms for St. Louis, and we get more and more of that slightly cooler air and less humid air as we head into tomorrow morning. 72 degrees. It's a mild start, but again, without as much humidity, I think you'll notice and feel it. It'll feel like a great start to our Saturday morning and our weekend. It's still going to be a hot day, but a typical hot day, not intense. A high of only 88 degrees. You can see by lunchtime we're at 84. Without as much humidity, should feel nice. 88 degrees by 5 o'clock. A spot storm southwest. I'll pinpoint some areas that could see a slight chance for a shower storm for tomorrow afternoon, but it'll be southwest of St. Louis, where I expect the metro will be dry and comfortable into the evening at about 81 degrees. As comfortable as a warm summer evening can be. Should be a nice one, though, for Saturday evening. So here's this front to the southwest, and this is why I'm still including that isolated shower storm in the afternoon tomorrow. We're talking about Rolla to maybe Sullivan to around Centerville, possibly Farmington, that area. I'd say it's about a 20% chance. This will stay to the southwest because of that front. The front starts to lift back up to the north as we head into Sunday. It doesn't bring the intense humidity right away, so we're still at 87 degrees and enjoying a nice Sunday afternoon. Just have to keep an eye to the sky, especially south of St. Louis, because the closer you are to that front, the trigger for a shower storm, the better chance. But nonetheless, about a 30% chance south of St. Louis for a shower storm Sunday afternoon. And again, if you're north of St. Louis, I think you'll get away with mainly a dry day for our Sunday. We'll get into some hotter weather, though, as we head into next week, because that front is returning. So we go from 88 on Saturday and then 87 Sunday. 89 Monday, a little bit more humid, though, and then we're back to those low 90s, 93 degrees Tuesday and Wednesday with a chance of more storms. Looks more like a summer pattern here as we get back into early next week. But it will cool down a tad by Thursday and Friday with upper 80s and still a chance for a few storms. It looks like a stormy pattern here as well. We are actually still below normal on rainfall for the year, so we could maybe use a little bit of that rain. I know some people are saying, really, we could use it? We're actually about 5 inches below normal, so perhaps we'll catch up in the next week with all those chances for storms. Today, we caught up with Great Circle. They were our 4-degree guarantee partner from June. We handed over that giant check to Mary Sherfy from Great Circle. We had 95% accuracy, and with a matching donation from Cardinals Care, the total came to $2,300. Great Circle is all about family strength, and one of the many things they help with is trauma. Considering the heavy, troubling events in the past days, we're thankful to have such a great organization that can help children, parents, and families with mental health.
And 95% accuracy.
Yeah, happy to help out. Happy to mention them on a daily basis. You know, it's like it's all about supporting and mentioning these great charities in our community.
Getting the word out. All right, Steve, thanks.
Doug Vaughn up next with sports.
I've been about 95% accurate with the Cardinal scores here lately, too, which is nice. Big upset in the Wimbledon semifinals. A former champion is out, and Randall Grichuk's batting stance change seems to be just what his average needed. That's coming up next in sports.
2 to 5 p.m.
He'll say anything, even if it's a lie.
That's Professor Josh Hawley lying. Federal court documents prove Josh Hawley did defend terrorists. But it gets worse. Josh Hawley has never prosecuted a single case in the courtroom. Not once, not ever.
I'm Kurt Schaefer. I've spent my life fighting to make Missouri safe. I'm the only prosecutor in this race. As Attorney General, I'll prosecute dangerous threats, not defend them.
Ready, set, save! It's Watson's Great American Sale! Save hundreds, even thousands of dollars on all above-ground pools, starting at only $6.99. Plus get 12-month special financing, only at the Watson's Home Store.
Missouri needs a top law enforcement official who's committed to fairness.
Jake Zimmerman, husband, dad, reformer, who took on corruption in Jeff City and busted corporate tax cheats in St. Louis County. When phone companies were cheating us out of millions, Jake took them to court. As Attorney General, Jake will fight for fairness in criminal justice.
I have spent my career fighting for fairness.
Jake Zimmerman, Attorney General, for the people.
News 4 Sports, driven by Toyota.
Cardinals are in Milwaukee for the start of a 3-game series that'll wrap up the first half of this season. The All-Star game coming up on Tuesday. Michael Wacha will be on the mound against the Brewers. It looks like, for now anyway, that Randall Grichuk has taken back his everyday job out in center field. He was sent to the minors after a very rough 2.5 months, where his average stayed right around that Mendoza line. But he's been hot since coming back up. He's had 2 hits in each of his last 2 games. Had a home run in yesterday's win over Pittsburgh. Grichuk changed his batting stance with the help of the AAA hitting coach, and he says it has really helped him.
You know, me and Buddha, the hitting coach down there, were talking about it, and we were just trying to figure out how can I be consistent, what feels good. Nothing really clicked, and he thought of little circles with your hands, and that's what clicked, and it felt good. I did it for about a week before I got called back up, and it feels good.
Just the quality of at-bats that Grichuk has taken, and you realize when he gets into a good rhythm and he's seeing the ball and he's establishing the strike zone, staying within it, and then the ball's going to jump.
I feel good up there right now. Feel like I said yesterday, I feel like I have a consistent, hand positioning, and my rhythm and timing feels good. And I feel like it's allowing me to get to pitches and put good swings on them.
And that's a very good thing. It has not been made official yet, but it does look like Vladimir Sobotka will be back with the Blues. Jeremy Rutherford of the Post-Dispatch tweeted today that Blues GM Doug Armstrong has talked with Sobotka's agent, and that's coming back to the Blues after spending 2 years in the Russian KHL. He spent 4 seasons with the Blues, scored 29 goals in that span. He figures to be one of the Blues' top 9 forwards and could be paired with fellow Russian Vladimir Tarasenko. Big upset today at Wimbledon. 7-time champion Roger Federer knocked off by Milos Raonic in 5 sets. Raonic is a tall Canadian who was hitting serves as hard as 144 miles an hour. Federer broke his serve just 1 time. Raonic becomes the first Canadian man to ever advance to the finals of a Grand Slam tournament. I guess everybody playing hockey up there in Canada, not so much tennis. Federer was trying to become the first man to win 8 Wimbledon titles, but he is knocked off. Raonic will face Andy Murray for the championship on Sunday. Serena Williams plays Angelique Kerber for the ladies' title tomorrow.
You said 144
About
miles per hour.
144. At that speed, you just say, go ahead, just don't hit me with it.
It's a rumor at that point, as it passes you.
A tennis ball can put out an eye. I wouldn't even try to return that.
Put out a lot more than an eye, but we'll just leave it at that.
I like that Sobotka signing by the Blues.
Yeah,
should help.
That should
nice
help.
to have him back.
Scrappy little guy who scores.
Scrappy,
so.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight for News 4 at 6 o'clock.
Hope you have a great evening. We'll see you back here for News 4 at 10.